When I first read the script, the first thing I thought was how much fun it would be to shoot, and that's been true because it's been a big old party. But I also love that the first 3 people in the call sheet are women, and that's a really exciting thing, and it's a really exciting time right now to be a young person, to be a young woman. Everybody likes to be scared. Being scared brings people together, literally, physically. Also, like when I jump to other people. So I think it's just a great, fun bonding experience with your friends. It's like escape rooms. You know, you're all in there trying to figure something out together, and getting scared together is a really unifying experience. And it's just like silly and fun. So I play Natalie. When we first meet Natalie, she's kind of in a bit of a weird place. She's had some things going on with her family. And when her best friend goes off to school, the original plan is to go with her and go away for college. And she ends up having to stay home to take care of her mom. So when we meet her, she's become a bit of a recluse, and she's sort of forgotten what it's like to be a young person. And so she goes to hang out with Brooke again for the first time in a long time, and remembers what it's like to be a kid again and to be with her best friend. I've never worked with an editor who is also a director, and it's incredible. And I've heard that editors make the best directors, but having that experience firsthand has been amazing because he knows exactly what he wants, and you know, it shaves some time off of what we would be shooting because he knows what he's going to use in the cut.
Hellfest is a traveling horror theme park that's been going across the nation. It's the new hottest thing. It's the thing that you have to, if it's going to your town, you have to go. You have to get tickets. You have to experience it. It's phenomenal. It's so much fun. It is so much fun. It is, I mean, probably one of the best times I've ever had on set. We all play along. We all scare each other constantly. We all play pranks on each other. It's great. It's a beautiful thing. They went all out, but it was amazing. I mean, everything was so real. It wasn't like I said, it wasn't acting. Like you got there and you were just really taken back by, you're in Hellfest now. You're here. It's a real thing. It's not a set. It's a theme park. Everything was functioning, everything was great.
I like that it's so honest in terms of the group of friends. You've got the crazy ones, you've got the kind of like the more reserved ones, you got the in-betweens, and everyone kind of fits in their own weird little ways. Taylor's a hoot and a half. Taylor just wants to have a blast, forget the world. She's significantly smarter than she lets on, but she'd rather have the world have a lower expectation of her. That way she can exceed it or match it. She really doesn't care. She just wants to have a blast. She's one of those friends in the friend group that will take you on an adventure you were not expecting to go on. It's really fun to work with this cast. We're a lot like our characters in certain ways. Certain ways we're very different from our characters, but in the ways that matter, like some of us just genuinely want to make people smile and have a good time. Some of us are a little bit more like, takes me a minute to get used to you. So it worked out well for filming, like especially for filming. We got together really well off camera, and then on camera we could just bring that in there. They bring so much to their characters. Amy has this honesty and subtlety that I can't really see anyone else in her position. Same with Rain, honestly. Rain has this beautiful access to her emotions, and she can just pull them up at will. It looks so good. It's so real. They're both just really talented. I can't even articulate how much I adore them, admire them. I think that overall the film is going to deliver just a really fun, suspenseful experience. Like, one of those classic Halloween, go to the theater and get your socks knocked off you type of movies.
Brooke is like the perfect combination of crazy and sweet. And so she kind of bridges the gap between Natalie and Taylor. And so she's kind of who connects everybody to Natalie and to her circle of friends at college. I just loved how fun I got to play with her, like being the really like sweet, like, oh my gosh, and then also like just super crazy, you know, the fun of going back and forth and balancing it out. I just think she's really fun, and it's really fun to play her. Greg is great. Love working with him. He's super chill, and not just chill and like, but like he's willing to listen, and he also has a clear view of how he wants to do things, and it kind of combines when we get together. And I like the process of him not always telling me what's going to happen around the corner so that it can be a natural reaction. He's really good at letting us have our natural reactions rather than so much staging and so much blocking, because he really wants it to feel real, and I love it.
Asher is certainly one of the more hedonistically expressive characters. And so Asher always enjoys a party. He enjoys a good time. And specifically, it's not a good time in terms of pressuring his friends, but he wants to make sure that everyone is always having a good time. He's always making sure everyone's having drinks and enjoying the music and not being too uptight, and sort of enjoying the fear and all the excitement that comes with the fear. This movie in particular, somebody had asked me about it before, and this movie is kind of like a horror breakfast club. Like it's an interesting group of characters and friends, and they all have their different personalities and are intertwined in different ways, and they just happen to be going to this horror theme park. Oh man, Bex is such a giving actress, and she's so fun to work with, just to be able to hash out what we're gonna do, and then also she keeps it new and surprising from take to take, and I love working with her. She's wonderful.
I mean, I think right off the bat, what appealed to me about Hellfest is that it's kind of, it's just got a fun vibe to it. Like it's really grounded in these kids just going to have a good time, and all the while there's kind of something like lurking underneath it all. Well, I really connected with the fact that Greg, our director, didn't really want Gavin to be like some macho, super suave. You know, he really embraced kind of the goofiness of Gavin, and I really liked that, because in the breakdown and the audition, it was like, I don't know, something like a 90s rock star, and like obviously that kind of went away to an extent. And I really appreciate that, because there's always these romantic leads that are kind of overly like charismatic, and I still think he's got an essence of charisma for sure, but I think that I kind of allow for him to get flustered, and that's relatable to me. The cast has been awesome. I think right off the bat we all really got along, and that was special, because we have to act like friends, and it made it just super easy. Amy, who plays Natalie, has been awesome. We're good friends now, which is really cool. And we've really connected, and I hope that kind of shows in the way we goof around. And she's made it really easy to kind of treat Natalie and Gavin's relationship as kind of like a blooming friendship, instead of like right off the bat they're just kind of lovey-dovey and flirty. It's more than that. Greg has been great about like helping us craft genuine characters, and I found him really easy to bounce ideas off of and really responsive to anything you have to say. And just, he knows what he's doing. And he's an editor by trade. And so when we shoot, it's always kind of comforting knowing, you know, usually when you shoot, you'll leave a scene and you'll go like, I hope they edit that. And I hope they make that work. But with Greg, it's like, you know he's gonna do it. It's just gonna be perfect for a group of friends to hang out and watch. I think it's got a perfect balance of everything in it. So I hope it just kind of becomes that movie you put on when you're hanging out with your girlfriend, you're hanging out with your partner, and just, you know, wanting to have a casual movie watching experience that's just fun and funny and gross and scary all at the same time.
That whole carnival life has always fascinated me. I'm also a writer, and I've explored doing something about lycanthropes. But the bike, you just see, once they gave me the costume and the black nails and all the jewelry and the ring stuff, I said, okay, this is Mick Jagger meets Chuck Berry, and sort of a guided tour about this thing. I was very adamant with Greg and making sure that I wasn't connected to the other, and I'm not. It's totally separate. Every season I go on another thing. I have fun. Talking to Yulin, the costume director, we realized that he was a pirate and a little bit of a collector, you know, bits and pieces from everything, and presenting people that come to our wonderful Hellfest with an extraordinary ride and an adventure beyond compare, you know? You know, there's a lot of ordinary horror attractions all over the world, but this one is the one that everybody's going to be seeking out once they see the movie. They say, where can I find that experience? I just wanted to channel and do what I thought good people would do. And you know, and Greg trusted me enough to give me some extra lines, and you just go and play, and hopefully it'll show up on camera. I mean, they got so much equipment out here. We got cranes, we got, you know, so many camera works and a 150-person crew. So this is a movie, folks, and you're gonna, and hopefully, you know, it'll pay off and multiply itself.
You know, first of all, Halloween, I'm born the day before Halloween. Halloween's been a huge holiday for me my entire life. And I've been a horror fan since I was a kid. Halloween, the original Halloween film, is one of my all-time favorite films. So I love theme parks, especially I have kids now, and we've been taking them to some of the haunts and so forth. And it just felt like the perfect mesh of things that I love, time of year that I love. And the script was great, and everyone involved was so great. It's much the same appeal as a horror film. You have, people like to get scared. People like to feel an emotion. And these haunts definitely give you an emotion. They give you a jolt. It's a shared environment. And it's so unpredictable. It's nice. It's nice to kind of get out of your comfort zone, knowing you should be safe. And again, that's the fun thing about the movie, is obviously it's not safe. But you should be safe, and it's such a fun shared experience. Hellfest is a traveling haunt, if you will. They take an interesting spot every year, travel around the country. So each year it's in a different city, different state, and they put on the very best of haunts, incorporating sort of the newest scares, some old school scares, and giving people just a great experience overall. You can go to the VIP zone and get the extra special scares. You can go to the normal park. But the idea is that there's a lot of variety. It's never in the same place twice, and therefore it's building up a sort of a cult following. Well, our lead character is Natalie, played by Amy Forsyth, and it's really, the whole film for me is it's important to see the film through her eyes. And she is somebody who is very much at a crossroads in her life. Her friends have sort of, her best friend Brooke, who we meet early on in the film, has gone to college, kind of become her own person, and Natalie still is living at home, kind of needs to sort of make that next step. So we find her at a little bit of this crossroads, and she's in this little bit of a triangle because Brooke has moved on a little bit. She's met Taylor. Taylor's her new roommate in college. Taylor could care less about what people think about her. She has the most fun with life, and she's the antithesis of Natalie. We have Gavin, who is played by Robbie Attal, who's Natalie's love interest, and he is just like the sweetest, both on screen and in real life, the sweetest guy you could ever possibly meet. Christian, who plays Quinn, who's Rain's or Brooke's boyfriend, again is that fun, sort of lovable guy. I kind of always pictured him as a 5th or 6th year senior who's the sweetest guy in the world, is not, doesn't want to hurt anyone, loves her so much, wants to have a lot of fun. And then we have Asher, who is sort of Taylor's equal. They want to go out and just have a blast, could care less what people think. And I tried to make each of them less stereotypical and more just friends. For me, if the audience likes them, if we all are on their path, then I think we're in good shape. And they immediately bonded off screen, and it shows on screen. I just want people to be scared. I want people, and if I'm very lucky, people will continue to talk about it. Not loved it, hated it, anything. It's just that it starts a conversation a little bit. And again, the slasher films and horror films in general were such a big part of my childhood and on my adult life. I just want to sort of pay homage to the great directors that have made horror films before me, and just keep them going, because it's a genre that I love.
We talked a lot about, all the different ways we could do things. I think we wanted to keep a lot of stuff practical. I mean, obviously, we always have the option of doing VFX if something goes wrong, but keeping everything as practical as possible. And especially for a makeup effects standpoint, we had a little bit of a different kind of thing because we were creating all the masks. We were doing all these prosthetics on all these haunt actors, which a lot of times wouldn't normally happen. So we got to make tons of different masks, and talking with Greg, we would just have back and forth with all different kinds of ideas and concepts, and just kind of all narrowing it down. It was very involved, and definitely even with Yulin, our costume designer, we were all very close. The other was actually designed by Tony Gardner with Alterian Effects, but I think it's a very different look for a mask. I think it's going to really work and make things, super horrifying and weird. It's like when you see him, the light reacts on this mask very differently throughout all the different scenes, and I think it's really cool. I think people are going to walk out of it having a lot of fun. I think they'll definitely have a memorable experience, and I think there's definitely some good jump scares and some good fun things out of there, and I think some of our effects may gross some people out.
I really love the fact that there were more jump scares, I think, than I've ever read in a script before. I figured kids would be exhausted by the end of it. So that appealed to me. And then it's like a big opera. I mean, there's nothing that isn't scenery in this. Even the house and the apartment, those were sets. Right. So that, of course, anytime a designer can design from the top, right, you go for it. Well, Deadlands, that's pretty much that's the most original. Because we wanted the park to keep getting odder and odder, and we chose for Deadlands, we had all these pictures. I think everybody had at one point seen the pictures of the 1930s Halloween kids with the big heads, and so we used that to go off of, and we did Depression era, spaces, and the guillotine looks like it was, from cowboy things and been painted for long, and we had clapboard houses, and so we just, that's the very end where it's like, okay, this is really weird. And then we had the old big-fashioned hellmouth that looks like it was like 18-something.
Well, the process started for me with Gail and her saying, "Hey, are you available?" And I was like, "Yeah, absolutely." I didn't know what it was, to be honest. And then when I read it, I was pleasantly surprised. Gail's good about putting people in the right places, and I think she knew I would be right for this with Greg. It was a perfect match. When I proposed my boards in the beginning, they were exactly what he wanted. They were vintage-inspired costumes, which I find extremely creepy and different. I haven't actually seen many of those. They were vintage-inspired. They were crafty, almost things that people could throw together, but in just the right way. And they were all... I sent those boards to him, exactly what I thought, and he came back with, "That's exactly what I was thinking," and it developed from there. When I first got on a call with Greg to discuss, we talked about characters, and character development is very important to me, to introduce these young people and for people to know exactly who they are when they first see them on camera is important to me. And so that was our main discussion, was character study. Who are they? What happened to them? How do they find themselves here? How do we make the audience identify with them and then like them, you know? That was our first discussion. And our main discussion, this has been one of the most beautiful jobs for me in terms of collaboration with the director and Gail, because it came so easily. It came together so easily. He was very clear about what he wanted in his vintage design and in his colors. He discussed that he wanted the color to disappear from the different worlds as we progressed. The look for the other is unique, I think, to this genre, because he looks like the everyman. He could be anybody, and he looks like a dad. His hoodie is not black. His hoodie's green. His undershirt is not black. It is navy. And his shoes are brown. So he just looks like he could be anybody, and that's what makes him especially scary, I think. I loved working with the people, the crew on the show, the production designer, Greg, Gail. I felt valued as a costume designer. There was a huge appreciation for our work, and getting to create these characters with Lucas was a beautiful experience. I think it really shows in the work. I think everything is very beautiful, impressive, and Hellfest is a hell of a place, and I'd like to go there, so it was very cool.
I love the idea of Hellfest because this is something that I would experience. My daughter, her friends, so many people I know, regardless of their age, love this kind of horror that's not just on the screen. You get to go to the park, and it becomes a personal interaction. And that's what I think makes this so special, is that this is something where it could happen, and it's not just happening to people on the screen. You can really personalize it and feel for all of the characters that you see in the film. We see Hellfest through the eyes of Natalie, who has stayed home. We find out that she's got personal reasons for staying home, and she's going to visit her lifelong best friend in a college town. And she's had a difficult few years, but, her friend Brooke is convinced that tonight she's going to enjoy herself, and they're going to go experience Hellfest. The director, Greg Plotkin, CBS Films, and I really wanted to make sure that it was all about chemistry, that everyone that you see in this film looks like they belong in the film, and they have the kind of energy and the kind of enthusiasm, and are not only great actors, but people you want to go on the Hellfest experience with. And that's exactly what we found in our leads. When I first began in the film business, one of my closest friends and mentors was Deborah Hill, who co-wrote and produced Halloween. And what really inspires me is that back in a time when women really weren't starring in films, Jamie Lee Curtis was the star of Halloween, and she fought back. I love the fact that these kinds of films inspire young women to not give up the power, to fight back, and to not be taken advantage of. I'm really a big fan of watching people branch out, multi-hyphenates. People like Greg, who started as an assistant editor, became an editor of such films as Happy Death Day and a number of the Paranormal Activities, to the point where he actually directed one of the Paranormal Activities. He's someone who knows how to scare you. And most recently, he edited Get Out, which I think is not only a great horror film, but one of the great films nominated for Best Film at the Academy Awards. And, he's someone who is able to communicate to our cast exactly what it is he wants from them. And, and he can see it, how it's going to be when he finishes the film.
Keeping on the movie theme, I've got a behind-the-scenes interesting fact for you from the movie Saw. While shooting Saw, both Cary Elwes and Lee Whannell were told that a puppet was being used in a scene when actually a real actor was to be used. In order to keep the secret from them, all the scenes in the bathroom needed to be shot in one day, with them being authentically chained. And Tobin Bell, who the two actors were told was a puppet, lying face down and motionless throughout the filming. It took 15 hours, but the effort paid off. The shock on Elwes and Whannell's faces when Tobin stood up was genuine. Now, if you haven't already done it, remember to subscribe and click the notification bell to always receive the latest trailers the moment they are online. See you next time.